Dance of Dragons. It was the civil war that brought down the Targaryen dynasty from one of its strongest points under King Viserys, the first of his name, to one of its lowest. The civil war was caused by a succession crisis between two claimants, Princess Rhaenyra and Aegon II, called Aegon the Elder. There are valid reasons to have supported both, and it's an interesting dilemma to pose to yourself. Which of the two you would have supported, had you the strength of a noble house? In this video we will examine the legitimacy of Princess Rhaenyra. Let us first recall the short history of the succession. King Viserys I had one daughter, Rhaenyra, but failed to raise any sons. One of his sons died in infancy, while the other passed away a day after birth. Because of this, the original successors were the aforementioned Queen Rhaenyra, his eldest child, and Prince Daemon, the king's brother. No doubt the king preferred his own progeny in the princess and was turned off by his brother coveting the throne. He had decreed Rhaenyra should be queen, and, in 105 AC, called in the lords and ladies of the realm to pay her homage. In his later years, the king did finally have a son, Aegon, from his second marriage to Alicent Hightower, but consider the matter already having been settled. Following Viserys I of his name death, two factions would form, the Blacks supporting Rhaenyra and the Greens supporting Aegon the Elder. Let's examine the claim for Rhaenyra I. Rhaenyra is the eldest child of King Viserys. That gives her proximity to the throne. In the past, the throne would be inherited by the oldest son, but seeing as both sons from the first marriage have passed away in childhood or infancy, there is no reason why the daughter would not be next in line, especially given the other arguments. Rhaenyra has been named Princess of Dragonstone, the hereditary title to the throne by her father, King Viserys I, to succeed him. A procession was organized in 105 AC, in which lords and ladies of the realm swore oaths of fealty to her and professed that they would uphold her rights. Such statements are honor-bound and they carry great weight as they are made agreement. Rhaenyra is both named queen by the king and the noble houses have agreed to it. It's a very binding connection. Not only that, she was also groomed by the king, sat on small council meetings, and was allowed to make connections with the other nobles, which smoothens out transitions and prepares one for leadership. So it's not only that she is the rightful queen, she is also the most equipped to be the next monarch. But it's not only that she was named the heir, but what that represents. It's the king's word, and the king's word is law. Defying the king's will would be defying the overall authority of the office. Not only it cannot be allowed, it also creates a judiciary argument in addition to the hereditary one. This one might seem a bit silly at first, but there is something to be said in favor of, favoring the adult. The adult has full right to rule, while a young monarch becomes a king or queen in waiting. In a way, they have less right to rule as the regency rules for them, until they become of age. That time comes eventually, of course, but there is something to be said about the stability of the realm and the centralization of authority in a fully fledged ruler. Skipping out on the regency is a minor point, granted, but it gains some points for Rhaenyra nonetheless. As you can see, there were good reasons to take up the cause for Rhaenyra. However, same is true for Aegon supporters. We'll examine that in another video. For now, let's examine the supporters for Princess Rhaenyra. So who thought Rhaenyra's cause was righteous? Lord Kermit Tully chose to support the Blacks after his grandfather, who wanted to support the Greens, died of old age. Lord Cregan of House Stark was promised a marriage of a Targaryen princess into the House of Stark. Another unofficial reason could have been that Jacaerys Velaryon, son of Rhaenyra, secretly wed Cregan Stark's bastard sister. Lady Jane Arryn. Rhaenyra had an Arryn mother. Besides, Jane had to support Rhaenyra should her own claim to rule come into question. Other notables include House Valerian, at the time very rich and powerful house, tied to Rhaenyra by marriage of Laena Valerian. House Tarly, one of a few houses of reach to take a side. House Greyjoy, joined for easy prey of a Lannister coast. House Thravan, one of the most prominent houses of reach. House Darklyn, one of the chief houses of the Crown Lands. The map on the left shows the disposition of the forces. To condense this, it's Lannisters and Baratheons against the Arryns and the Riverlanders, so 2 great houses against 1.5. As the Starks needed time to muster their forces from their great territory, the initial advantage belonged to the Greens. But we'll not go into play-by-play in this video. It's also fun to speculate who the 300 AC characters would have supported. Eddard Stark is characterized by a strong sense of honor. Stannis on Eddard Stark. I knew Ned Stark as well. Your father was no friend of mine, but only a fool would doubt his honor or his honesty. Had he or his father would have been required to give Rhaenyra an oath, he would have likely upheld that. What I really like about this conflict is that, while you may think that your own arguments are better, you have to concede that the other side has solid arguments as well. The claimants caused the rift in the 7 kingdoms. With both claimants valid, the lords, and indeed the ladies in some cases, of the realm were free to pursue whichever belligerent suited them the most. It pushed the matter of succession from a principled opinion into a pragmatic choice. Lords would press contested claims and seek out to wrestle with their rivals in the name of king or queen, whichever suited them the most. It became a war of many smaller wars, local rivalries, and eventually all the cracks in the kingdom were exposed and inflamed. The flames would die down, and eventually the realm would know peace, but not before much noble and humble blood was spilled. By the end of it all, Targaryen dragons would either perish or be lost. It was not through victory but attrition that the conflict would end. Both claimants would die in the dance of dragons, and, after many Targaryen deaths, the crown would eventually pass on to Rhaenyra's son, King Aegon, the third of his name.